Welcome to the station wagon. I'm the older brother, Mark.
And I'm little sister Julie. This is the podcast where my brother and I give up something we take for granted and tell you how it goes.
Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
This is our podcast on sugar.
Yay. Hi, Julie.
We're going to be telling you about some of the history.
Nope, we're not.
Wait, nope.
Way to screw it up.
We're going to be talking about some of the science and cultural context of sugar and how we eat it and what happens when Mark and I give it up. And at the end of the podcast episode today, you'll hear about our experiences after we have done that. If we survive it, because we'll take a 2-week break in the middle. So we're doing things differently today. We're not going to do so much of a history section.
Mixing it up.
Okay.
We're changing the recipe for our cookies and we're removing sugar from them and hoping that they're still good.
Usually that's a terrible idea.
Yeah,
but we'll find out. Okay.
Yes, we'll find out.
Okay. So why don't you give me a quiz to get us started?
All right. So here's the quiz. It's going to be a 4-question quiz this time around. Because I am not, as a little treat. Yeah, as a little treat for you, I'm not doing any history this time. Okay. Again, we're changing up the cookie recipe. All right. Number 1, Julie, you ready?
Yep.
True or false? Sugar was once considered a spice and not a sweetener.
Wait, is this true or false?
Yeah, true or false? That's what it means when I say true or false.
Do you want me to start over? It sounded like this. No, this is what it sounded like. Oi, I'm Mark. I
find that very hard to believe. False. No, it's true. When sugar was first introduced to England in the 12th century, it was grouped with other tropical spices like ginger, cinnamon, and saffron and used by the very wealthy to season savory dishes. Savory dishes, not sweet treats. Yeah, super interesting. Can't believe they got it so wrong.
That makes sense. Like, I was looking at my beloved Doritos, and there's sugar in them because it helps bring out the savory. Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't know sugar helps with savoriness. That's interesting. You'll have to tell me more about that. What was an old use for sugar? Was it medicine, an ancient concrete additive, or stone polishing additive?
All of the above.
Medicine.
Yeah,
in fact,
that's included in my answer.
Yeah, well, I guess that's true, but your answer wasn't specific enough, so loser.
All right.
So British doctors prescribed sugar to cure a range of diseases. In fact, one 18th century physician even suggested blowing it into your eyes to cure eye ailments. What would that?
Okay, well that doesn't.
I don't think I've ever had sugar blown into my eyes. What would that feel like exactly?
I don't think it would be great, but I'm really not surprised by this because doctors in history have tried using every potential substance available to them as a medicine. So
yeah, totally right. Totally. True or false? Now, this is another true or false question, Julie. Okay, very good. Sugar was only for royalty for centuries. True or false? Sugar was only for royalty for centuries until the great sugar mine of Sri Lanka was uncovered in 1623.
False.
Right, that's false. Why is that false?
I've never heard of the great sugar mine of Sri Lanka. I think you're making it up.
Because sugar isn't you don't mine sugar.
It's not in a mine, right?
It's not in a mine. Very good logic. You deduced that. Really good.
Also, Sri Lanka's not a country. Come on, you're going to have to try better than that. Just kidding. I know it is. I know. I am a stupid American, but I'm not that bad. Okay.
Okay, last one. Ready?
All right. Yes.
Okay. You're not doing... Well, actually, you just got that one right, and you got the other one sort of right. All right. True or false? Eating sugar can give you wrinkles.
It's not my worst work.
No, it's not your worst.
False.
True.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's common knowledge that eating too much sugar can cause weight gain, right? But it turns out that overconsumption of sugar causes glycation, a process in which the sugar in your bloodstream binds to proteins, forming molecules that make the collagen in your skin more brittle, which in turn causes wrinkles.
That is interesting.
So, Julie, is that why you look that way? Because of all the Doritos with sugar
it's
that
very
you eat?
possible. You know, I mean, that's like the one thing. Our family, it does not fit into that at all. We eat a lot of sugar. I'm talking about our family of origin for you and me. We eat a lot of sugar, but we all have luscious, oily skin.
Oh my God.
I should probably delete that. That was disgusting. Sorry.
That was pretty gross.
Okay.
It will put the lotion on its body.
Ew. Okay, so did I win? Do I get a prize?
No, you didn't win. You got one right, you got one partially right, and you got two wrong. But what did you learn? What was something that you learned? You must have learned something really good.
Sugar does not come from mines. Right. I forget the first thing you said, but I remember thinking, oh, that's interesting.
Right. That it was once considered a spice and not a sweetener.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. That's interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if our taste buds could have changed over time.
Oh, for sure. I mean, maybe. But what's the real genius is whoever put sugar and chocolate together for the first time.
That is a pretty good trick. Yep. So, Julie, that was the quiz. Okay. Better luck next time, kiddo.
Thanks. Okay, so are you not talking about history at all this time?
Not at all.
Just jump right into science?
Just jump right into science.
You're not even tempted to talk about it?
Not even tempted. I want to see what the episode feels like without it.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, and that's why I added one more question to the quiz.
Ooh.
Yeah. I want to make the episode a little shorter. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, and listeners, weigh in. Let us know what you think. I just want to let you know before you ask me a lot of questions about it, I couldn't really find a good article that said, hey, when you eat sugar, here's the 5 things that happen. Uh-huh. Like, everything I found that was easy to find in my lit review was more like, we investigated this one brain receptor and, and like stuff like that. And like public health things on how to get people to eat less. So I don't have a good review of like, when humans eat sugar, these are the 4 things that happen.
Got it.
So, okay. So I'm not going to be talking about that. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Jumping into the science of sugar.
Julie, one thing that I really want to know about is when people eat sugar, what are the 5 things that happen to them?
All right. Sugar. Science. Yay. Okay.
Yay.
So, first of all, regarding science, you're going to see one of my longest lit reviews ever because there is a ton of literature out there about it. Sugar, as we know, leads to obesity, etc. So, I'm not going to get into so much of why is eating sugar bad. I think we can all have a general working knowledge, and if not, you can go back to some of our other episodes about calories, about why when we eat excess energy, that's not so great for us. If you eat a lot of excess energy in the form of calories and sugar, and then you're not burning it off, it's going to become potential risk factor for diabetes, for obesity, cardiovascular problems, and also sugar affects our tooths, our tooth caries and enamel and things like that. Tooth caries become cavities, in case you didn't know that term.
No, I did know that. Yeah. I don't actually have
impressive.
Any. I have no cavities. Do you?
Nope. Genetics.
Which is weird considering what you said about our family of origin eating a lot of sugar.
I know. We do eat a lot of sugar when we were growing up and this morning.
And this morning? Okay. Yeah. And every other day of your life. It's probably because we grew up with fluoridated water. Thank you, fluoridation.
Thank you, water. But genetics are a part of it, too. All right. So here's some stuff about sugar that we know. It's delicious. When sugar is added to food, people and rats like it better. I mean, the literature is, without a doubt, pretty solid there. And I think our personal experiences, and like we were talking about before, like Doritos, which listeners will know are part of my daily consumption, have sugar in them.
Yes, and we're very worried about you. We've gotten a lot of listeners writing in saying that they're worried about your health.
In moderation.
Oh, okay,
Anything
good.
in moderation.
Okay.
So I spent some time at the grocery store just in preparation for this episode looking through ingredient lists, and you will not be surprised, I'm sure, to find that sugar is in everything, not just sweet things. So it's in bread, it's in crackers, especially those kinds of carb products. Mm-hmm. And when sugar's not in them, they don't taste as good. I make homemade bread all the time, and I don't put sugar in it. I can make pasta sauce without sugar, but the kind of shelf-stable food that we've got in the grocery store all has sugar in it. It's really, really,
but you just said, Julie, sorry to interrupt you. Actually, I'm not. You just said
Go
that
for it. Yeah,
things that have sugar in them taste better, and when you make bread at home, you don't use sugar. So is your bread from home baking really crappy?
No, my bread from home baking, trademark, is amazing. But I bet if I added sugar to it, it would be even better tasting, not necessarily cardiovascularly. Okay, so a lot of the research out there focuses on beverages. So if you look through my lit review, you'll see beverages mentioned in half of them because that's where people get a lot of their calories from. We've talked about this before. Just sugary beverages are a huge issue, in part because sugar's not filling, right? So people will drink sugary beverages or eat a sugary thing because it gives us a quick boost of energy. It's beneficial to us if we need that quick boost of energy versus caffeine in one way, because caffeine can stay in your system for like between 3 and 8 hours, depending on how you're built. So if you need a boost of energy and you drink a shot of coffee, that potentially can interfere with your sleep. Your sugar, you're going to have your sugar crash, which will suck, but at least you might get a better night's sleep later versus caffeine. Neither way is a really good way.
It leaves your body quicker than the caffeine does.
Exactly. You're going to metabolize it into fat sooner. But,
okay, great.
Or for working
so
off.
It leaves your body, but it leaves behind a little friend.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
So there's also sugar-free foods out there too, which I think you're planning on enjoying. I have some serious issues with sugar-free foods. They're not great because, first of all, if you're using them because you want to protect your teeth, a lot of sugar-free foods still hurt tooth enamel, which was shocking to me, but that's in my lit review. Also, it still keeps that sweet taste going. In other words, like if you're getting used to your taste receptors being trained to need everything extra sweet, if you're going to be eating a lot of sugar-free food, you're not going to be kind of retraining your palate. Whereas if we completely go without sweets, then we'll start getting used to less sweetened food. And I'm just a little concerned that if we still use sugar substitutes during our upcoming 2 weeks, that might not do it for us. It might make it harder in the long run because we'll just keep craving that taste. But the third reason is because it's so diuretic. So be really careful with the sugar-free stuff. I had terrible bronchitis a couple years ago, and I was just eating sugar-free lozenges like constantly for a couple of days until I started asking, why am I constantly farting so much? And then I realized on the back of the package it says overconsumption may have a laxative effect.
But you said it was a diuretic. Doesn't that mean pee?
Nope.
What does diuretic mean? Break it down for us.
I don't know. Maybe laxative effect? I don't know. I'll Google it.
Yeah, because I think you're wrong on that one. I think you're dead wrong.
Diuretic. I'm not going to look this up right now. Okay, whichever one it is.
Just look it up. Just cut it out. Cut out just pause and look it up.
No, I don't have a lot of time.
All right,
okay,
go.
I got to get the show on the road. My day isn't full of frivolous Googling like yours.
Right.
Okay.
Quick note here. Mark was totally right. Diuretic equals pee-pee. Laxative equals poo-poo.
Anyway, fruit juice is another thing that's kind of maligned. I used to work with an obesity doctor who I was like the therapist to her doctoring. We were a team for adolescents in a clinic in Chicago. And she used to always tell our patients, eat your juice. If you're craving juice, eat a piece of fruit instead. And that's nice advice if you live in a home where you have fresh fruit around all the time, and it's not always possible. But I've always kind of had that sense of, ooh, fruit juice is bad, bad, bad. And it certainly is nowhere near as good as eating fresh fruit because of the fiber, etc. It's probably not as good as eating dried fruit, but it's still better than some of these other sugar-sweetened beverages. And the research does show that when people substitute the sugar-sweetened beverages for fruit juice, 100% fruit juice, they actually have better outcomes in the end. So it does look like fruit juice probably isn't quite as bad as we paint it, but still water is always going to be best, plus actual fresh fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm planning that I might start like buying a little bit of orange juice and just drinking like a few ounces of orange juice as a sweet treat, maybe? I don't know. That's not usually something I would drink. The research is really up and down on whether or not sugar is addictive. Just casually, we always talk about, oh, I'm addicted to sugar. I've got sugar addiction. And there certainly is research that seems to show sugar being addictive in rats. But the research is a little flawed in that what they did in many of these rat studies was actually deprive them of sugar. And so then when they were exposed to sugar, they showed evidence of binging, and a lot of their behaviors mirrored the way rats behave with heroin and other fun things that we test on rats. And so some of the human studies also are similar in that when they would have teenagers, for example, not have any sugar for like 2 days, and then they put out as much as they wanted of treats and compared, did they eat a lot or not? Of course they binged, but part of it could have been because they were deprived of sugar. So you'll see that in my lit review also. So it's doesn't seem like sugar is actually addictive in terms of how it works in our brains. So there's also a downside of even considering sugar as addictive when it's not. Like even just calling it addictive can be problematic.
Oh, well, it hurts the sugar military industrial entertainment complex.
It's actually the opposite. I think it's this is just Julie's take on the world versus something I read in a study, just to be transparent here. I think there's a real downside of thinking about it as addictive because then we get in this mindset, because we're all eating sugar all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Most of us, unless you're being very, very thoughtful about your diet, especially if you're eating processed foods, you're definitely having it all the time. And then if you think of it as, well, I'm addicted to this, I'm just going to take that as a known fact that this is my addiction, oh well, it's going to make it very unlikely that people are going to try to give it up because they're just going to assume that will suck. Breaking an addiction is extremely difficult. Yeah. That's something I won't be able to do, and it's going to be very hard, and I'm not suffering too much because of this. I'll just exercise extra or whatever to get rid of the calories. And so I think there's just a real mental leap to thinking about giving up something when you know, or when you consider, oh, I'm addicted to this. So this actually helped me. And I experienced this myself when I was reading through the literature, because I've always thought of myself as addicted to sugar. And I remember our older brother giving up sugar for a while. And I just thought, there's no way I could ever do that. I am just too addicted. It's been part of my daily eating for my entire life pretty much. And after almost every meal, except maybe breakfast, because I eat a lot of sugar at breakfast, I always want something sweet to end the meal off.
What did you find out about addiction to sugar? Is it a real thing like caffeine?
It's not, because even though there might be cravings afterwards, the way our bodies process sugar, it's out within a matter of hours. And although people might crave it because of their palate and because they're used to it behavior-wise, there's not going to be any shakes. There's not going to be stomach aches. There's not going to be some of those other physical reactions from going without after giving it up.
So to have an addiction, do you have to have withdrawal symptoms?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just not addictive by that definition. Plus, it's just mostly a behavior. From my vantage point, and for me personally, I'm not speaking for everyone. I think I'm just so used to eating it, and my palate is just so used to sweets that it's just going to be really hard. I'm so dreading this. But I don't think I'm addicted, because I don't think that exists for this. I do think I am behaviorally in a rut here of eating sugar all the time, and it's going to be really hard. On
that topic, when Kindra and I first got together, there were lots of times when I would be really grumpy, and she would say, "You need some sugar," and she'd hand me a Sprite or something like that to eat or drink, and it would improve my mood immediately. So isn't that withdrawal and addiction?
I'm not surprised, but I think it would have happened the same way if it was some carbs, because I think you would have still gotten that instant boost of energy.
So she could have given me, instead of a Snickers bar, like a bag of carrots.
No, those aren't carbs. Those are vegetables.
Carrots have carbs in them.
Okay, I'm just like really fast acting. Like if she'd given you a packet of saltines.
Okay.
That would have hit your bloodstream pretty quick.
Got it.
So there is one bit of interesting research about the probabilities of eating a lot of sugars and having alcoholism in the family. There does, from one study, just one study, folks, there does seem to be a link that children of alcoholics tend to eat more sugar throughout the day. So it's just total correlation here. Correlation does not equal causation, but it has prompted this theory that perhaps the genes that predispose someone to alcoholism could also predispose you to being someone who is more likely to binge on sugar a little bit more. Or binge is the wrong word. To more like, I don't want to say hoard sugar, but to eat more sugar in a free realm. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, that's it. I was pretty encouraged by this research, like I said, because it does seem like maybe this will be easier.
Right. You're not going to go through shakes or headaches or monsterism or anything from giving up sugar.
I'm not going to go through monsterism, but I am going to be craving it constantly.
Right.
It's going to be really, really, I eat it all the time, Mark. I mean, breakfast, I always eat something sugary. Like, I'll have cookies for breakfast.
What?
And then after lunch, I eat something sweet. At snack time, I eat something sweet. After dinner, I always eat something
Julie,
sweet.
you are a podcaster now and need to be a role model for your listeners.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, have you thought about that? And thought about all the tender listeners out there?
I'm not starting this today, by the way. I'm starting it tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'm having a last hurrah tonight.
Okay, good. All right. So just to summarize, I am going to give up any food that has added sugar or added corn syrup, added sweeteners, but I'm going to continue to eat anything that naturally comes sweetened, like fruit, and I'm going to continue to eat anything that has synthetic sweeteners in it.
So would you eat sugar-free candy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because does that have sugar in it, Julie? No, it doesn't.
I mean, I know it's not against your rules, but I don't know if that's something you normally eat. Whereas I do know you eat like Diet Coke all the time.
Yeah, I have diet sodas. Let's not buzz Marc at Diet Coke. They haven't sponsored us yet. And
okay, fair.
I do eat sugar-free candy periodically.
Oh, okay. All right. I've decided I am going to not do the sugar-free stuff because for all the reasons I mentioned before, because I really do want to test, can I change my palate? My friend Julie said that when she lived in America, she used to eat donuts all the time. Then she moved abroad for 10 years. And when she came home, she just couldn't eat them because it was just so overly sweet to her after changing her palate. Mm-hmm. And I just want to see if that happens to me too. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to do the donut challenge. But the added sugars to extra foods is going to be really hard. I don't want to give up Doritos, but I also eat sandwiches. Like, I mean, my lunch is a peanut butter sandwich and Doritos. Bread has sugar in it. Peanut butter is like half sugar, and my Doritos have a little bit of sugar. So I haven't decided there yet. I'll try to find bread and crackers without sugar in it.
Yeah, and peanut butter, like maybe organic peanut butter that doesn't have sugar added to it and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Organic Doritos.
Okay. Well, that sounds amazing. There's definitely a markup for it. Okay. Thanks, listeners. Stay tuned. Listen to The Pleasure Kills. We'll be right back to let you know how our experiment went.
Bye, Julie.
Hi guys, it's Jess here, the host of the Kiwi Crimes podcast. I decided to join you guys this week for your sugar-free challenge, and it was a challenge. So well done for setting that. I lasted about 2.5 days of complete sugar-free before my husband said, let's go out for dinner, and I said sure, and then all of a sudden I was drinking a mojito and eating ribs covered with barbecue sauce, and then I had chocolate cake and ice cream for dessert, because once you're that far gone, why not? There were a couple of things I ate that I misread the label, and they did have sugar in them, so that was a bit of a fail, but that just goes to show that there is added sugar in everything. It was so crazy. Why do crackers need sugar in them? Someone needs to explain that to me, because I have no idea.
My name is Jess, I'm 36, and I'm a Planned Parenthood supporter and patient. When I was 17, I was sexually assaulted. I didn't have anyone to turn to, but Planned Parenthood was there for me. 20 years later, I'm still a Planned Parenthood patient because they're the best at what they do. Plus, I want my insurance dollars to go to an organization I care about.
At Planned Parenthood, our patients are our supporters, and our supporters are our patients. Show your support by scheduling your next checkup at PlannedParenthood.org.
Hey, Julie, welcome back.
As you were. Oh,
God, what is your problem?
I was saying as you were, as you started talking. I don't know. What's your problem?
What's your major malfunction? Julie, welcome back from 2 weeks. Actually, more for me. I did this for 4 weeks. And I am still doing it.
I also did this for 4 weeks.
You
and
did?
I am still sort of doing it until last night.
So what'd you think? How'd it go?
I was shocked. This was so much easier than I thought it was going to be.
Can you just tell us what you ended up doing?
What I did. Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, I know it's really boring to hear people just talk on and on about all the things they eat. So I'll try to make it quick, folks. But I didn't eat any sweets for the first 2 weeks. Okay, I'll clear. For the first 2 weeks, I was a purist. I didn't do any sweets at all, no sugar added stuff. I did have sandwich bread that had a little bit of sugar in it, but I went through like 20 different loaves of bread at Safeway and picked the one that had the least amount of sugars added.
Okay.
So that was like pretty much the only thing, except I'm sure here and there as I was eating out, probably tortillas or something had sugar in it at restaurants, because restaurants are, who knows. But overall, I was super amazing. Thank you. I had to travel for work during this. So for 1 week I was traveling. I was really worried about that. So my very first stop on getting to my hotel was to drop everything and go to the grocery store. And I just bought tons of food, dried fruit, dried nuts, fresh fruit, things like that. And
oh, that's great.
Yeah, and vegetables, and just ate that for the entire time I was there. Saved a bunch of cash, too, which was really nice. And then at home, I just had to be super planful, right? Like, just have all the right groceries at work and at home. And almond butter is what I did to replace peanut butter, because I couldn't find a peanut butter without sugar in it, even the organic ones.
Wow.
But almond butter is like peanut butter's grosser, more expensive cousin that when paired with Doritos aren't that bad. Oh, and I did eat Doritos.
Wait, you kept eating Doritos?
Yeah, the sugar is really
wait a
low
minute.
down.
You knew that Doritos have sugar in them going into this, and you still couldn't filter out Doritos? So it's not like you have an addiction to sugar, you have an addiction to Doritos.
It's possible, but that's a different podcast episode.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, so I felt totally superior to everyone else around me,
of course,
which always happens with these challenges, right? Like, oh, I'm not interrupting. I'm not complaining. And this time I watch people eating donuts, which I would have eaten the day before. I'm not eating a donut. I just had to plan ahead, and I kept asking myself, why am I hungry for sugar? So for the first few days, especially if I was in a public place where there was free sugar around. At one point, people had free ice cream cones at this conference. And so, of course, I wanted one. And I kept asking myself, what am I actually hungry for right now? Why do I want that? Is it the energy I need? Okay, maybe I need some coffee instead.
Right.
Or is it that I'm actually hungry? Okay, well, I have almonds in my bag. Maybe I should eat those. And just asking myself those questions was really helpful. And also, the thing that helped was really binging on sugar. The night after we recorded last, I had my book club, and my job for book club that night was to bring the chocolates because, book club, of course, someone has to have that role. And so I brought tons of candy, and I ate so much of it. And then the next morning I had a chocolate Pop-Tart for breakfast, and I felt so sick. And probably the wine from book club added to that feeling, but I kept mentally attributing it to the sugar. Every time I felt so gross, I was like, oh, that's the sugar, which certainly didn't help.
That's so funny. So you made yourself feel awful and associate that awfulness try to make it associate with eating sugar. That's great. Yeah,
like Antabuse. Do you know what that is?
No, say it again.
Antabuse?
No.
It's a medication you can take that if you then drink alcohol when you're on it, it makes you violently ill. And so people do this on purpose to make themselves have a distaste for alcohol.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was like that, but Pop-Tarts. Thanks, Kellogg's. Anyway, and less vomiting. So, yeah, it went great. I did crave it, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't nearly as hard as giving up caffeine. And I was able to replace the need for it with other things. Like, oh, and also after like the 2-week mark, I'd be at the grocery store and fruit looked amazing. Like, it is summertime, so that helps. But I'd be looking at blueberries thinking, oh my gosh, those look so delicious right now. And they tasted amazing too. Again, maybe because it's summer. Even a little bit of orange juice, like I would have that for quote unquote dessert. It was so sweet. I didn't even need it. And it didn't take that long. It wasn't like my friend who I think I told you about was away for years. After a good week or two, like I started to experience that. It really didn't take very long. And so then after the 2-week mark, I did add one thing back into my diet, which was extremely dark chocolate. So like 85% dark
Is that what
chocolate,
it's called? Is it really called extremely dark chocolate?
No, it's not called I'm sure there's some called that. I did also try 100% cocoa nibs from Trader Joe's. They were horrifying. Don't do that. But the 85% dark, I've tried that before and it was just too bitter. It was like, nope, this is not happening. I used it for cooking.
Right.
But now I can eat that and it tastes really sweet. So up until last night, which was my daughter's birthday party, that was the only sweets I'd had. And at her birthday party, I made strawberry shortcakes for the kids. So I did have one of those and it was amazing. And I did want to binge on it too, for the record. Going back to my research from last time, my body was like, this is an amazing source of energy. More. Yeah, other than that, I'm going to keep doing this, I think.
That's great. Are you going to give up Doritos?
No.
Oh, God. Now, why
insane.
can't you find a substitute for Doritos?
Why should I? I mean, what's the benefit?
I don't know. Isn't there some kind of health badness around Doritos? No?
No.
Oh, no, they're
No.
perfect food. Okay.
They're perfect food. They're like bananas and breast milk.
All right. Sorry, I'll back slowly away from that topic.
Thank you.
Just a heightened taste sensory experience the whole time. That was great.
And don't forget feeling superior about everything.
Right.
That always helps.
That's awesome.
What
That's
about
really
you?
what it's all about. Yeah, so for me, it was easier than I thought it would be, but maybe it's because the only real major sugar intake that I have on a daily basis, I don't have sugary food with every meal usually.
Okay.
But at work, I've told you about this in the past, they have snacks there for us and various food for us there. And one of the things they have are these big tubes that you can serve yourself from with peanut M&Ms and Skittles and other treats. And so on a daily basis, I would have some M&Ms, some peanut M&Ms. Skittles are an abomination, so I never had any of those. So I stopped having the M&Ms. When just looking for a snack or looking for breakfast, I would have something with no sugar in it as opposed to maybe some Raisin Bran or cereal like granola that has sugar added to it. But I found it to be really easy too. Now, I might have been sneaking in sugar by accident because your talk about the bread is concerning to me. I was eating they have organic bread at the office, like Dave's bread. You ever heard of that stuff? And I kind of just assumed that there was no...
That's the best bread. It's really, really good. Has sugar.
Yeah, so I was eating, so that was the thing that I was still eating sugar with, but I was having yogurt that had no sugar in it or, cheese or whatever. Yeah. So what was interesting to me, in other food things that we've done, didn't we give up carbohydrates once? Wasn't that a thing?
I don't think so.
No, maybe that was just me and my wife
You
gave
did that
up
for
a diet.
Yeah.
I lost weight on that diet. This did not actually help me lose any weight, which I thought it would. I thought not having sugary snacks would actually help me lose weight, and it did not because I think I was replacing those snacks with other poor decisions.
Ah.
Right? So I would pick up a bag of potato chips, there'd be no sugar in it, but it's full of fat.
Right. I mean, even when I'm eating Doritos, that's not great. Even if they didn't have sugar, they're still fried.
Totally. So I would just put down the sugar, but pick up some other loaded gun, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what happens.
If your goal is just calorie reduction, then this ain't great.
No, it's not great. No. It has to be part of a more well-rounded kind of self-flagellation.
Right. Well, okay. So were there any benefits for you aside from feeling superior?
That's a great question. Did I feel superior? And I would have to say yes, because, a friend of mine was also, he was also not eating, or he was also eating really healthily during this time period and has been for several months. But towards the end of both of our experiences, he was starting to eat M&Ms or Skittles and stuff. And so I was able to say, Brandon, you better stop eating those things. You made a promise to yourself, and why can't you be more like me? But it didn't, for some reason, motivate him.
That.
It never really motivated him to stop eating the sugary stuff.
That's strange. Yeah, I can't imagine.
I don't know why.
So I did feel physically different.
You did?
Just a little. Yeah, because I wasn't like eating a bunch of cookies and then having the sugar high. I definitely replaced it with other high calorie things because I was eating pistachios all the time, for example.
Right.
Dried cherries. I mean, and those still have a lot of calories, but they also have fat in them, which is good and fills you up. The almond butter. Oh my gosh, that stuff is filling. We have a person in our family who I don't want to call out by name, but she'll know who she is. And she thinks that cotton candy is good for you. Mm-hmm. Well, not good for you, but certainly not bad for you because it's 100% sugar and it's fat-free.
Right. It's a fat-free food, just like Twizzlers are.
It's a fat-free. Right. Exactly. And I would just like to remind that individual whom I love so much and others out there that, when you eat 100% sugar, it is fat-free, which means it's not going to fill you up. But it does leave behind sugar energy, which will result in fat if you're not compensating for it with like running from a lion or something like that.
Right.
So,
sure.
I think that definitely I lacked the like instant energy boost that I use sugar for. Like that was probably the hardest time for me. It was like 3:00 in the afternoon, after lunch, midday, before dinner. That's usually when I would pick up a cookie or something.
That's super interesting.
Or a chocolatey granola bar.
Yeah, I would just go to the fridge and get like a little bag of carrots or something. They have that. See, they have a lot of healthy food available for us too. So like little individual bags of baby carrots or celery or cheese sticks and that kind of thing too. So I would go off and get something like that. Yeah, and I found that I was not crashing as much during the middle of the day, but still, I don't know. I don't think I had an abundance of energy over the last month that I hadn't felt before. So I don't know. I don't think it made such a huge difference for me.
So why are you still doing it?
Superiority. I mean, it comes down to that, really, Julie. Why? Yeah. Why are you still doing it? And wrinkles.
Oh, right. The wrinkles, of course.
Right.
Of course. I still want to be healthier, and I know logically the way I was doing sugar before was not good. I am kind of interested in making changes one at a time. So I work out all the time. I've been doing a lot of weightlifting, weight training. And so that plus no sugar, it's like if I can just make a couple more changes, I think I'll be super duper healthy instead of just very healthy. Does that make sense? And frankly, I want to get down to my college weight, which I know is kind of impossible after 2 kids. But still, that's, in the back of my mind too. So I think if I could stop drinking beer and wine on top of this and probably give up Doritos, then I'd probably be super duper healthy. But I also want to enjoy things, and I want to be able to go out with Olaf. That's code name for my husband Jason.
Oh yeah, well that's a really good point. So we
not worry
it's
about
summertime,
eating
it's
cake
hot.
or something.
Yeah, it's hot here. We went out several times with the kids to ice cream, and each time I was just like, because I don't like sugar-free ice cream. That's just a thing about me that you got to know, like when you make me my ice cream birthday cake, Julie.
Good to know.
Yeah, so it was just the saddest thing to watch them enjoying. It's the worst thing in the world to watch your kids be happy when you can't indulge in that happiness also.
That is the worst when your
That's
kids are happy.
the worst thing ever.
Yeah, well, okay. So here's where that literature from last time is really helpful, because it's not an all or nothing thing. This isn't one of those things where, if you stop eating sugar for a month and then you have that one Dairy Queen Frosty, that it's all over and you're resetting and you just may as well go binge on sugar every day. No, after a few hours, it'll be out of your system and then you can go back to eating mostly not sugar. It's not like, you're gonna all of a sudden go through the shakes. It's haha shakes.
Shakes, got it.
Because milkshake, yeah. Okay.
I just need to clarify one thing. Kendra was listening to my side of this podcast recording, and she says that I eat sugar-free ice cream almost every night.
What?
Which is not true. I eat no sugar added ice cream. So there is still sugar in it from the ingredients of the ice cream, but there's none added to it. So I still hate sugar-free ice cream, but I like no sugar added ice cream.
You are making zero sense. What's in it? What makes it sweet?
Splenda.
So it's diarrhea.
Yeah, it's like synthetic ice cream. It's basically like eating plastic.
Oh.
It's super good. You should try it sometime.
Okay.
Super good.
What
I highly
else?
recommend it.
You are a walking contradiction.
I am a walking contradiction.
Yeah.
Would you recommend this?
Wrapped in an enigma.
Oh my God. Julie,
Yeah,
I
would
will just say, I don't think I'd recommend this. I'm like, don't just give up sugar.
What?
You got to, if you're looking for health improvements, I'd give it up along with other things to get a more well-rounded, well-rounded health situation. But just giving up sugar.
I disagree.
Yeah?
I disagree. I think any change, I think it's definitely a healthy thing. I mean, we know it's not like up in the air of, is eating a bunch of extra sugar good for you or not? No, it's definitely not good for you. And it wasn't that hard for us to give it up. If your only goal is to lose weight, then it's probably not the first thing you should give up. Maybe
that makes sense.
Like start exercising is
Right.
a bigger important thing, or
Right.
give up sugary beverages. But if your goal is overall health improvement, cutting out the sugar it's going to be the kind of thing that affects us a lot more when we're older. I think like 20 years from now, this will probably have a much bigger impact than if we both lost 5 pounds over the last 2 weeks. It's
Right.
going to be really good for us, for our teeth, for our skin, for everything.
And one thing we didn't even talk about was diabetes and type 2 diabetes.
Exactly. All that kind of stuff. In cardiovascular health. So I think it's really important to try it just so that you know that you can do it. Because I've been recognizing for a long time that I'm eating too much sugar. This was the first time I ever tried it. And the only reason I even did this challenge is because you promised if we did yours, then we would do mine next time, which is giving up left-handed and right-handed.
And I always, most of the time, sometimes keep my promises.
Lovely. So I'm really glad I tried it because now I know I can do it. And even if for some reason I go back into eating a bunch of sugar again, I know it really wasn't that hard for me to stop. And I'd recommend others go ahead and try it. Like even Jess, who we heard her, did I get her name right? I think I did. It's spelled like Jess, but she's from New Zealand. So it's like Jess.
Funny.
Jess.
Anyway, funny. I'm not saying your name is funny. I'm saying the way Julie is trying to pronounce it is funny. Because Julie doesn't know what she's talking about.
Successfully
pronounced it. Well, Julie, this is great. And so for our next episode, we're giving up handedness.
Yes.
Tell us more, Julie. What do you mean by that?
We should probably change how we say that. But yes, so Mark is a left-handed guy. I'm right-handed. With Mark, if Mark had been born 100 years earlier, would have been whipped out of him.
That's right.
So we'll talk all about it.
Exciting.
And see if we can change it. Okay. Let's thank people.
Okay. Thank you, Pebbles. You are a wonderful dog. She has almost 900 followers on Instagram right now.
Oh my God. Wow.
And
that's great.
she got a big bump when I added the cats in. So instead of just Pebbles the doggy, she is now Pebbles and her cats.
And her cats. That's awesome. Pete, you probably get a lot of traffic from people who are looking for Flintstones.
I don't know. I don't know. I might get a lot of traffic from people looking for Scooby-Doo.
It's possible, and maybe some side traffic, because, folks, my Scooby-Doo podcast called the Meddling Kids Podcast is super awesome. You should check it out. Even if you're not a big fan of Scooby-Doo or have never even seen it, I still think you'll think it's entertaining. We go through some of the social mores of the 60s and look through Scooby-Doo through today's lens. Look at Scooby-Doo through... It's funny. You should listen to it. And it's with Stephen Pappas, who's amazing. He's like a real co-host. And
you are a
he's
bastard.
From This Adulting. Go to wagonpod.com where you can listen to other episodes, see our show notes, and subscribe. Feel free to also rate us on iTunes. It always helps us find new listeners, or share our show with a friend. You can connect with us on Facebook and Twitter at No, not there. You can connect with us on Facebook and Twitter at WagonPod.
That's right. Hey, Julie, do we have an Instagram account too? Or a Tumblr account?
Yeah, it's at WagonPod.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't post there very often.
Okay, me either.
Thank you to the Pleasure Kills for the song Modern Problems. And thanks to our listeners for sharing the show with your friends and for all the great support we get from you all. We really love it. We read everything you send us.
Yep.
And thanks, of course, to our spouses and our children for putting up with us and helping us make this happen.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thanks, spouses. I want to thank all the little people.
Great. Next time, we'll talk about our hands.
Oh, this is going to be so great.
Mark, you'll finally be normal.
I am really looking forward to it. Are you excited about this one? Do you actually ever use your right hand for any kind of like writing or anything anymore?
I mean, you made left hand?
Well, no, you're right-handed.
No, you mean I write all
right,
day
we're going to
long.
have to get this together. We should just say goodbye because you're just screwing this all up.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, listeners. Bye, Julie.
Oh, so you're going to still have like diet soda and stuff.
Oh, heck yes. I'm not a cannibal. No, that's not the right word.
Nope.
Kia ora, I'm Jess, the host of the Kiwi Crimes podcast. Each week, I'll share a missing persons or murder case from New Zealand. I discuss cases that are well known, as well as cases that you might not have heard of. Some cases will be recent and ongoing, while others will be cold. Full-length episodes are released fortnightly, and minisodes are released on the in-between weeks. You can find Kiwi Crimes anywhere you get your podcasts. I hope you'll join me as I explore the cases that rocked New Zealand. Ka kite anō.